and welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord and occasionally misbehaving technology to play Dungeons & Dragons and critically fumble a lot. Previously, a gang returned from their northward trek through Equitas to Demille and the Silver Vault, where they did some I don't know, whatever the cramming, whatever the research only version of cramming is in the Silver Vault, to effectively get met by a new individual who informed them that shit's really, really bad to the west. Can we do something about this, please? Because I think you guys are the only ones that can at this point. So Nyoomp, with one wood elf and a moose, back to Hearthhome, where they explained some things, got what little information that they could, hashed out something of a game plan, and are now heading in the general direction of Goldendale, the town, to get something of Rylan's enchanted as protection from the black shit. Apparently introduce him to... apparently do introductions with Jenna, because apparently everybody has to meet Jenna. That's a thing. And on the way, deliver a breakfast to a couple of Wood Elf refugees in the town treehouse. Barnabas has spent most of this time basically checking in with the mercenary companies camped out in the winter fallow fields of Hearthhome, if for no other reason than he needed a little time before he actually confronted aggressively welcoming family, given some of the things he heard about when he actually reached Demille. However, because Twilly in particular is an incredibly kind soul, she did put together a sizable breakfast for Barnabas, just because I'm not going to make him miss out on pancakes. So, basically trusting the rest of you guys to deliver that to him, where he's explaining a few bits and pieces and making sure that the mercenary companies know what's going on, hear a few of the things he's learned through the Silver Vault's war table. It's the if there's an option to assault a wellspring, don't, for the most part, and figuring out that a lot of the mercenary companies of the ones that had gathered there, some of them have spread out a little bit further east to figure out, how far the White Dragon's spread winter has spread thus far, and setting up a couple of scout points between the sort of grazing area and Black Crown, just so that they know if Black Crown is going to try a more standardized invasion, as it were. That's what Barnabas is hearing about when I'm going to assume that Remy, who's the one who recognizes what kind of command tent Barnabas could be found in, is sort of handed a plate of breakfast by Twilly and gone, "We should probably leave Froseth for the time being. From the expression on his face, he had things to talk about with Faraday that are probably going to take some time. So if you could give that to Barnabas and collect him for your journeys."
Yes, of course.
So yeah, Barnabas is sort of in the middle of probably gushing slightly over the war table from which he got all that information, because the bad part's over and they're asking kind of, so okay, how did you get this much detail? And he is trying to explain the whole thing when enter Remy with sort of a covered plate. Given the smell of pancakes and bacon and things along those lines, when compared with, for example, barracks food, all heads. So look up.
Yep, Remy sidles up right next to Barnabas, hands him the plate.
Thank you. You did not have to do that. No. Gentlemen, excuse me for a moment.
Twilly and Miranda insisted.
The gentleman leading the howlers, sort of, if that one said to do so, then yes, you had to. I take it we're done for the moment.
Yeah, for the moment, I believe.
Well, then the rest of the heroic weirdos seem to need you, so enjoy your breakfast.
I shall. Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, you have breakfast, and Remy is apparently summoning.
Yep.
We're ready to go?
He doesn't
As soon
even...
as you're set to go.
That's the thing, you don't even know where they're... Barnabas doesn't know that they're going anywhere, never mind where. He went directly from out of the barn to the barracks people. He hasn't seen anybody in the house yet. So it's like Remy looks that usual we are going somewhere impatient.
A little bit.
All right. I'll how are things with Twilly, Miranda, and family?
Doing all right, as far as I can tell.
Good. So, what's next then?
We've got Jenna and Lyran to talk to, so we're headed into town and dropping off some food to some of the elves that are camped out nearby in that treehouse.
Makes sense. All right.
Yeah, one thing Barnabas will have heard about from the mercenaries is, they've had a fair few refugees and not a whole lot of places to put them, just on the grounds that Goldendale town is very small and the one inn they had apparently burned down. Barnabas wasn't there for that, although he did see the fallout. Did he ever go to Golden? Yes, he did. Sweet shop. So yeah, you've seen the burned remains of the Golden Bough. And apparently, some of them have been sent to the town on the border between here and Starcoast, because any hands they need. It's just not going to be overly comfortable for them because not a whole lot of forest in that area.
Yeah.
It's the riverboat equivalent of a truck stop.
Yeah,
but
getting some food and comfort over to those people would be definitely a good thing.
Well, the two they're talking about are actually in. Barnabas hasn't seen this yet. I don't even think he's heard mention of this yet. They seem to. Remy seems to be talking about a tree house, the kind of thing that kids have somewhere a lot closer. Doesn't sound like a usual place with enough space for refugees.
Remy, when you said tree house, are we talking like for kids or am I missing something?
Well, I imagine it was built with a dozen kids in mind, so
yeah,
it's probably pretty roomy.
Remy's seen it. Remy at least has seen it. The kids caught one of the wyvern riders and shipped them to. Remy does know that it's almost a tree town that's been built by kids for like generations. Remy can probably get away with you have to see it to believe it.
You'll get it when we get there.
Gosh.
Is Remy actually making that noise?
He's having a chuckle at the mental image. The Barnabas's reaction to come.
Oh dear God.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, breakfast probably scoffed as much en route to the main house as possible. Just I'm assuming sort of pancake, wrap bacon in pancake, dip in syrup, munch.
Oh yes, for the deliciousness on the go.
Well, it's still better than attempting to eat porridge on the go. But yes, you guys meet up in the courtyard with Alice has largely distracted kids by doing flights around the sort of around the homestead in general. So she started with Evan, so it really is just wee. That's right in my ear, kid. Slightly quieter. Wee. Thank you. And sees Remy and Barnabas coming back, lands, puts Evan down. Okay, I know I promised y'all rides on the moose and you will get them. But no one goes near Legolas when I'm not here, at least for now. Still needs to get used to you, okay? There's a couple of sulky faces, mostly Evan and Mela. I know, but he's kind of out of his element like right now. Let him get acclimated. Fine. Just looks at Evan. You realize that you fit under a hoof, and I really don't want that to happen. Darvin would not be very pleased with me. Well, it wouldn't be your fault, it'd be mine for being intrepid. Uncle Darvin does intrepid.
Oh no.
Just crouches down, still taller, much taller than Evan, going, yeah, thing is that when Uncle Darvin gets intrepid, it's not generally him who gets smushed. Thunderwave. I will tell you that story later. There's a lot of later. Yeah, and you're really, really young, so there's going to be an awful lot of later. Better to get used to it now. You're a 3-year-old gnome. You have centuries of later.
Wow.
I'm going to have to think about that. Well, 3's a little young to start on philosophy, but what the hell? I'm sure the moms have chores. We'll be back and there will be moose rides. Kids trek into the house. Sorry, I got kid wrangling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, Darvin. It just I don't think him getting smushed was not an effective deterrent.
Absolutely not a problem. It was brilliant. And not wrong.
He definitely has you pegged. Watching Barnabas stuff this pancake taco basically into his face. It's just, that's clever as shit, actually.
Used to do it when I was at home. I'm about to go on patrol. There's a certain amount of stuff you can put in there before it becomes, too much for the pancakes and gets all over your hand. But it's fun finding out and always tasty.
Done it with waffles a couple of times. They've got a bit more structural integrity.
Yeah, but that's more of a sandwich than like rolling it up.
Depends on what shape your waffle is.
True.
And I mean, I guess it's kind of sandwiches, but it's more the kind of long, thin sandwich. But still more structural integrity. The little holes kind of catch the syrup, so you can actually put the syrup in without it getting drippy and sticky.
Ooh. Well, there's a huge advantage, because any syrup in this, and it's... Unless you're dipping it like I've been doing, it's everywhere. And I don't know if you've ever had to get syrup out of fur. I don't recommend it.
I have had to get it out of hair on a few separate occasions. The less said about that, the better. Let's just say that work at the Tipsy Pixie does teach you how to get a variety of substances out of hair, clothes, etc.
Fair enough.
I wasn't even talking about you this time.
I mean, still just finding something very interesting in the clouds.
Leans in as she starts walking towards the towards the road to town. I can demonstrate later. But quietly.
I mean, still coughs.
Yeah, I'm talking about the expression on making sure that wasn't out of character. It's hard to tell sometimes. I'm just saying. No, that's fine. I just
That was just too funny not to react. Wow. But that was out of character.
Yes, so road to Goldendale via the town treehouse. I think Clarity did see the town treehouse. I think it's only Barnabas and Rylan that haven't. It's about halfway into the 4 or 5 mile walk into town. Veer off a bit and stop at this massive tree with a quite sturdy looking rope ladder coming down for it. Point up, and that is not a treehouse. That is a tree house. That is built with the kind of structural integrity that you would generally find in buildings in cities, or at least towns, because obviously made of wood.
Behold, the house within a tree, or on it. I'm never entirely sure how that qualifies.
There's branches above it, so in.
Works for me.
Whoa.
Apparently this is a generational thing. So, oh god. Yeah, no, that's more than your AC right there. That's 4
to the side.
That's 4 points of piercing damage as Hazel gets an arrow stuck in her shoulder.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Very jumpy refugees. Understandably so, but wow, that was...
I'm gonna yell up into the treehouse in Elvish. It's okay. It's okay. We're friends. We're friendly. Please don't shoot at my friends. Please.
Then leans.
Wing swearing.
So, and what you get is what Rylan gets is at his feet, Blink Dog. You had.
What's it with you people and all of these fucking animals?
It's actually it's one of yours. The Wood Elf encampment that you come from actually had Blink Dogs as pets and sentinels, frankly. So you get point, sniff, 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 sniff.
Ago.
Yes. Well, you wouldn't have brought them with you.
That's fair.
They'd be refugeeing out, or you don't want to know what happened to them, kind of thing. But it's a youngish. It's almost a puppy. It's the overlong ears and the overlong paws, and you get this sort of wary snoof, 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 and then point, blink, and onto your shoulders.
Hi.
Lick, 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 lick.
Hi.
Well, I guess he
Considering how
liked
long blink dog ears are normally,
Yeah.
those are huge by comparison.
Yep. Hazel, make me an intelligence check. I'm tempting fate.
Yeah, I'm still swearing in halfling this entire time.
Yeah, that's probably not helping over much.
Ow, bitch, fuck. Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that I know Clarity doesn't know this one, and neither does Barnabas. No, you're too busy swearing. Actually, Ava, Darvin, and Remy can also make intelligence checks. Alice knows, but I'm gonna let you guys. Go first. If
16.
18.
Jesus, Remy.
Yeah.
I still need that T-shirt. My brain is trash, and I live on the internet. I will remember at some point. Yeah, it's this strikes
14.
this strikes Ava and Darvin as slightly familiar. Remy and Alice with given the puppy pile they spent an exorbitant amount of time in during their time in Agraf, they might have a slightly better eye for the canine, and how well trained some of them can occasionally be. And Rylan actually probably recognizes this because only one of the blink dogs in your patch was trained to point on to people. That's Cal.
Hi.
The blink dog
Yeah,
you met when you were on your day in the Elvenwild Wood Elf encampment after getting Remy at a... Remember Bannon, the teenager, and Cal, his little blink dog, and point directly onto First's head.
I'm glad you're okay, bud.
Lick, 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 lick. Okay, we know this one. Remember
Yep,
Cal?
he's
Looking at...
You
They're
know him.
we remember we were at your encampment. We just didn't meet you.
That is very fair.
We were kind of not in a great state to be talking to an awful lot of people. I think we talked to your Forest Touch, and we talked to that one's trainer. Who, please don't shoot at arrows at our friendly neighborhood cleric. It just reaches for the arrow without looking and yoink out. You can heal it now, or I can. Fuck it, and you get your 4 HP back.
You okay, Hazel?
We have food, and I have your arrow. Somebody please hold up the food. Cal is, yeah, okay. Cal point onto Barnabas and seems to be attempting to go for the food. Because it's on.
You'll get your turn.
Up.
And you
Using horns to try to block.
give me an athletics check. Fuck it. Oh my god, what is wrong with... Why do you do this to me?
Because we love you.
No, not you. This.
Oh.
It has days when it will not roll below an 18. They've experienced this. Trust me. I don't know!
Taliesin luck is attached to you, and it's not letting go.
It's found a good home here? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, the sack is getting decidedly chewed, and because that wasn't 18, Barnabas sort of, leaning too far, goes over sideways.
Little help here. Little help here.
Does
the dog look like it has a collar?
they don't collar their dogs. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
These are Fae. They're almost as smart as people.
Yes, hence the this is where the food is. If I get on top of the food, at which point from the ladder you get Cal heel wings. Point next to Alice. You just needed a word, didn't you? Well, I couldn't get him to heal up here. What elf? Kind of. I mean, the general impression is early teens, but probably older than that because elves. Oh, Rylan. Hi.
Okay.
This is the hunt master, the canine trainer's son. Just by the way. And clambers back down. You found them.
Yeah.
None of us thought you were going to do that. You were away for like weeks.
I know. I tried. I actually passed them by accident a couple of times. But
Probably would have been easy.
I ran them.
Well, at least you ran into them, and now I guess if you'd come with us, you'd still be here, but they... I don't know, it gets distant and weird.
Agreed.
It takes the food. Thank you. I'd help you up, but I'm not very big.
I'll be fine.
You weren't with them before. Pointing at Clarity. Hi.
Hi. Don't shoot at my girlfriend.
It's been scary. Sorry.
I understand.
I didn't know it was your girlfriend. You have a girlfriend now? Just looking at Hazel.
Walking over to Clarity and just smooching the bejesus out of her on the spot.
I think that's a yes.
I'm pretty sure that's a yes.
Might not be. Sometimes people smooch and there's not romance. They just like smooching.
I would be incredibly surprised if that were the case with those two.
Well, I don't know. I don't like to make assumptions. You remember how I made the assumptions that you were a man instead of a me? You didn't like that.
Takes a bit of getting used to. But
I know, but it just means that I took the lesson away and I decided to never assume.
Not a bad thing.
It makes an ass out of you and me both.
I suppose it does.
Sorry, I'm kind of telling jokes because it's a lot easier than thinking about the things. Is this for us?
Yes.
That is for everyone.
Then everyone is only about 2 or 3 of us right now, but they're mostly getting the younger ones out.
Good. That's good.
Kinda, but kinda not. Every time they manage to get some of us out, people kind of... The people who were giving us the chance to get out don't always make it.
That is heartbreaking to hear. We're gonna figure this out. We have to.
I don't even really know what's going on. Nobody wants to tell me much of anything. It's just that the drow have got worse, and then they're not...
Themselves.
The
Think.
well, to be fair, most drow have been like that throughout your lifetime, but they would have the rest of this group would have explained to you that that's because they were some of the first. The Duragar and the drow were at one point just ordinary people, some good, some bad. But given they were the ones underground, and that's where a lot of the wellsprings seemed to start, they were the first to, not to mention Lolth's. You've recently heard about Lolth's whole deal where she used to be a goddess of pattern and order, and then shit happened, and now they're worshipping a goddess who turned out to be evil in a world where the gods kind of get personally involved. Sort of. In any case, as far as you knew, and as far as this kid knows, drow bad. But there's also... They look kind of like Dragonborn, but they look kind of grubby.
Matches what I first heard from some of the scouts near the High Elves.
Yeah, except they're coming from the direction of the High Elf place. That's why they're taking risks getting the younger ones out.
Fuck. Okay. That's really bad.
Mostly we're staying up and shooting them because there's black splat. So yeah, when I have somebody approaching, my immediate reaction is poink.
That's more than understandable as of late.
Sorry, ma'am.
We've weirdly, thankfully in this case, had worse. It's fine.
To be fair, Hazel got shot by the same place that Clarity got shot by Francine that one time.
Nice callback.
And I'm just looking, processing. Huh. We match.
Not sure if that's a good thing.
You're the one who lives here, like, all the time. Or lived here for, like, ever, right? Pointing at Hazel. Is it safe to hunt here? Because we've got the puppers. At which point you've got kind of Alice going, puppers. Bannon whistles. And... point! Half a dozen blink dog puppies.
Wow.
Oh no. I look down and go. Oh boy. I'm just gonna sidle a little bit sideways just to get out of the way of the inevitable squee eruption.
Oh, but two of them.
It's so long. I'm putting out my hands for them to sniff.
Yeah,
They are adorable.
there's a snoof, 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 and then one of them kind of ends up draped across your shoulders. Blink! Lick, 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 lick. In your ear. One of them is sort of snoofing at Barnabas's hooves, like, what the fuck is this? Snoof, 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 snoof.
Hi.
Blink on top of your head. Lick, lick, lick,
DM,
lick, lick.
What I remember about the just like hunting is fine or not fine.
I mean, as far as you're aware, it depends on how far any of the crap coming out of the Elven Wild has spread in this direction, but Twilly and Miranda would know if it had come this far east. So, stay close, and it's probably fine.
As long as you stay pretty close, hunting and training the swarm should be fine.
It's mostly just because we're gonna need meat for him. Another couple of youngish wood elves are kind of coming down from the treehouse. One young woman and one gentleman. That would be Lorelei and Baze, respectively. So, hi, Rylan.
Hi.
Fancy meeting you here again?
Yeah. Kind of a weird set of circumstances, but
Yeah, I hear they specialize in weird. Baze, the gentleman who you know is man of very few words, it just yoinks the bag and starts divvying out bits of food, trying to avoid the dogs. 'Cause the only thing he says is people first, then pooches. Puppers! From Bannon. Puppers! Does it matter? Yes! I don't have home. I want my terminology. Fine.
I'm gonna say in Elvish. Phrasing is very weird when one can say, hello, my airship is full of walrus. And it sounds exactly like, hi, my name is...
Your dialect is in Elven. Your dialect is fucked up.
Yep. Back to common.
Okay.
I got my capacity for it a little bit evened out magically, but that does not fix dialect or accent.
Okay. But we're going. Well, Lorelei is just. We're not going to teach her to do anything. Is this your treehouse?
It's a community thing. It's as much mine as it is the town's.
Or the kids, rather, right, Hazel?
Pretty much, yeah. That's sort of the general idea.
Yeah, but the kids who played in it first grew up, so it still technically belongs to them.
Fair enough.
I just want to make sure that it's okay. We were told it was probably okay, but it's weirdly comfy up there. They've got furniture.
Yeah. When a project becomes fully generational like that, it gets extensive.
They have carpets.
Mm-hmm.
And elaborate.
They've even got shutters on the windows.
Yeah, just kept redoing it until we had a whole house up there. It might get bigger.
The tree needs to get bigger first. Lorelei is just, sorry, we're probably keeping you. It just, we've only had us and the puppers.
Don't worry about it.
understandable.
And it's, are we ever going to be able to go back home?
We have anything to say about it? Yeah.
We're working on it.
I'll make sure you have a home to go back
make
to.
sure that'll be the case.
Probably not going to be the same though after, is it?
No. Probably. No.
No, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You can make it better.
And I like this treehouse.
Except if that black stuff is as awful as it sounds, it's probably gonna have to purify by fire. The Forest Touch says we haven't had to do that or to a colony in generations.
Sometimes, in order to purge something on this level, you have to go to some very, very old practices to make sure it gets done right.
Is this the High Elf's fault?
No,
No.
not even remotely.
Hazel, in theory, has it right, given that it was Lady Amavela, apparently, or her regent, who invited half sister and resultant individuals into the place in the first place. So you're going, no, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah, my bitch stick of a donor, I guess. At the very least, was partly responsible for inviting the half-dragon Bint, who got this ball rolling.
We don't know that others were involved, but at least one was, I suppose.
Yeah.
I thought the scout said that some of the High Elf people were... I guess it doesn't matter. I just don't know what's going on. I guess I'm probably not gonna. But I've got puppers. It just scoops up the remaining these blink dogs. Ears. They're all ear, paw, and nose at this point. So it's just armload of pupper.
So much ears, just like a whole bunch of wobbly extendo ears.
And feet. Lots of feet. Thank you for breakfast.
Be to help.
We'll leave you to your day, but we're here if you want to drop by. We'll try to keep a better watch so that we don't shoot at you this time. Sorry.
It's all right. As I said, we've thankfully had a good deal worse.
And it's an understandable reaction, given the circumstances. So,
Yep.
I can understand.
so don't blame you.
Yeah, but it's still not nice to... I mean, I met you. Okay, puppers, up! And point! You hear scrabbling.
Good dog.
You did good. Just, stay safe and all that.
And it's looking at Ava and hesitates for a minute and just goes, I gotta train him right. I gotta carry on Mama's legacy.
You're doing very well so far.
And Ava apparently does not register until after he's gone up the ladder that probably means that his mother isn't anymore.
Well, no, she hadn't registered that, but...
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's sort of, has sad look on face and it's like, looks around at a couple of the others, Darvin in particular, and it's like, just, oh, maybe I should have said something slightly different as the trapdoor. I'm glad I didn't do my first thought of flying up and checking in the windows to see who was there.
Yeah, no.
You would have been met with projectiles.
Yeah, might have spooked them a bit.
He's the only one who didn't say anything about these, beyond using them as a landmark for Cal. I guess after everything you guys have been through, suddenly wings is a bit less of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Poor kids. I know that most of them are probably older than me, but poor kids anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. We can't do anything until we get Rylan something sufficiently enchanted.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that Lyra still has the wherewithal for that. I don't know how many of these she can keep active at any one time. If there's a limit to it. But we still not gonna let you run around unprotected. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Of course, she probably would have been able to remove the one on Aaron's socks. He didn't have anything particularly substantial to get enchanted, so he used the socks that he got from family for like early oralness or something.
All right.
He wasn't a particularly jewelry-oriented individual, I don't know.
It's fine.
Very weird.
Holy socks.
Not usually something you want to be bragging about, yeah.
Right. Get on those.
I can, given.
Well, you could, but it would be undoing. And I guess instead of darning them, you damn them. This is
Given enough time and incense, we could theoretically make all of our socks holy.
And Darwin is just.
I could just. She actually pulls one of her scimitars. I could make our socks holy without having to resort to incense. Shink.
And Darwin is face palming into eternity, mostly because he isn't coming up with any of these.
Alice sort of leans back. If you could spare your forehead by using that hand that you're introducing to your face to take notes.
Oh, and thank you. Because that last one hurt. Ow. Note to self, don't do that. Speaking of, it actually makes a note. Don't do that.
You were gonna say what the that is, right? Because you could just fill an entire entry. You could fill an entire journal, basically, of, date. Note to self, don't do that. Note to next day. Note to self, don't do that.
Oh, see, that's the heading.
Okay.
The list is going to be everything I'm not supposed to do. This is going to be the list of things Darwin is no longer allowed to do.
Oh my god. Oh no.
We have to be kind of careful about that one because it will probably devolve into talk at all. That will put a severe crimp in your barding.
Yeah, I have to get very specific on those.
Is no longer allowed to speak to anyone of significant political rank. Except Francine.
I think, yeah, you get along with.
It's actually more she'll punch him and won't do anything else overly. She might hit him, she's not going to turn him into anything.
Or just outright eat me.
Involved just punch.
Yeah, she does have as long as she's punching. Thankfully, she didn't go in for swinging cookware at me.
Yeah, she's I really want to compare her frying pan to Hazel's war skillet.
I'm reaching into the bag and producing the war skillet.
Yeah, for Rylan, who was not present when this was gifted, she's wielding a skillet like a mace.
That actually has a hilt.
Yeah, instead of a handle.
Like probably a couple of points off the ends.
You know what?
Probably not, no, because that would interfere with the heat transfer. Hand it to Rylan. Let them feel the balance.
Wiping around, handing it over handle first.
Just very slowly and confused, grabbing the handle.
You've held skillets. This is not balanced like a skillet. This is balanced like a mace.
I know I should have probably learned to stop asking questions a few days ago, but why?
Have you met Hazel?
I'm going to take it back as we're continuing to walk and walk forward enough so that I don't accidentally yeet this thing and demonstrate with a few swings.
Because sometimes you get
Roll
attacked while you're
swing.
cooking breakfast.
Look, they had an incident at a campsite, and she probably would have been very glad to have a hot skillet to hit the ensuing ghast with. Although, if gas smell bad and crushed gas smells worse, I wonder what cooking ghast smells like.
Flaming,
Yeah.
probably pretty awful.
Yeah, and given everything that happened that particular occasion, I imagine the camp smelled awful enough as it was without... I'm assuming we're still walking while all this is going on, by the way.
Yes.
It's a good conversation as any to keep us company until, you see off in the distance... you haven't seen a whole lot of... Actually, you haven't seen really any of Baronsphere as a country. So you basically went from there's that big castle over there and we have our little Ewok huts to white winter wasteland, middle of nowhere, to rustic. So what you have is a little small but long kind of building with a what you recognize as a graveyard kind of off to one side, and the at least no longer smoldering burned wreck of building off more to the left. It's a little town square. Probably a market happens somewhere in the middle of that, and just ringed around by shops and then houses going outward, not very far outward. This place is incredibly tiny. It's probably about the size of one of your forest communities, just on the ground and kind of buried in snow in bits. Welcome to Goldendale. The town,
Usually a
not
lot
the...
prettier. Less toasted.
looks
We're
nice.
just sort of still on. Haven't gotten a chance to repair everything because there needs to be booting out of jerks first.
Yeah, well, it would help if we knew if Benson was still around to take over the place.
Also true.
So are we thinking Lyra first or Jenna first?
Lyra first.
Okay, cool. And we're at approximate break time. I know it doesn't feel like it, but we were waiting for a while. So when we come back in a few minutes, we'll actually speak to Lyra. we're back in Goldendale Town Center, which I've kind of moved us to on the. You have to scroll out a fair bit to see it. We're kind of at the south end at the bottom, where technically that is a ruin, and that is the multi-faith shrine. And I'm assuming that Hazel's leading the way, because that is kind of her immediate home away from home. Sorry, I didn't hear most of that.
Yippers.
So, yeah, boom, into the shrine, which is... It's not... I mean, obviously it's not overly well attended at this point, but currently what you have is Estan dusting. Estan, human... older, rather upright, and face of more or less eternal grump, as is trying to keep everything more or less tidied, and then looks at you guys and says, you again, and then looks at Alice going, and then turns around to Hazel. What did you do?
I gave her a wedding present. That subsequently happened.
Looks at Remy.
Well, yeah, I really did want to give her a wedding present, which went to a larger degree than I had expected.
Flap, flap, motherfucker.
Wow.
I'm tired of this! Alice looks at him. You're just upset because you don't understand why your god doesn't favor you with this kind of inconvenient crap. Greetings to those of you I haven't met properly. My name is Estan. I am the local priest of Nerul.
Nudging Rylan.
What? Hi.
Greetings.
There's a sapient minotaur and a very nervous wood elf. Then again, the few wood elves that have passed through here have been to an individual nervous. Be welcome to the multi-faith shrine. Please don't take this as me not being welcoming, but what are you doing here?
We need to talk to Lyra. We have another case of the anti-goo requirement.
Right. Wait here. I'll see if she's available.
Thanks.
Walks towards the back. Doesn't get very far before he starts with, Lyra! When did I start being your secretary?
Did I ever meet him before?
Not sure. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, those of you who've been to the shrine, only some of the ones who've been here earlier actually spoke to Estan.
Don't mind him. This is normal.
This is normal.
He's the local priest of a death god.
Oh no, I'm just surprised that literally anything surrounding any of you could be considered normal.
That's
It's
a good
normal.
point.
It's normal for him.
Yeah. For a given value of normal.
Yeah, most of them, when we mention something being normal, it's normal specific to the individual we're pointing out.
and in our lexicon, because our definition of normal is really, really different to most of the rest of the world. Oh, we haven't really explained Lyra to him at all.
Oh
Have
boy.
we? At which point, in pads, even for a halfling, she's short. Bright red hair. And a kind of a bandage across her eyes. And just around the lower end, you can just about see little scars. They look like very old acid burns. But she moves remarkably well for someone you can't imagine can actually see. Well, she does stop, looks at Rylan. Well, tilts her head in Rylan's direction, certainly, but there's very much the feeling of being looked at. Oh, goodness. I might want to have a private word with you later.
Oh? Really?
Trust Lyra on this. If she asks for this, it's in your best interest to go along.
It's
Okay.
it's just I just have some questions is all, but Hazel, I'm glad to see you doing so well. Hello to the rest of you. I've met almost all of you. Tilts head in Alice's direction. You can, yeah, of course you can tell, but yeah. What does it look like to you, out of interest? Additional blessing?
Yeah.
I guess I feel a little better now. Kind of. I wasn't going to specifically mention it. You seemed already upset. And from the back there's some grumbling in halting Celestial, which I believe it is only Darwin who understands as, I have worked for 40 years in service to my god, and their gods love their flaily asses. And in Celestial, again, for calling back, well, maybe when you save the world a few times, Nerul will appreciate it. Darwin knows what Celestial swearing sounds like. That comes out of the same mouth as your prayers to Nerul. Again in Celestial. Dead silence. And Alice is just, I remember why I like you now.
Welcome to the best teacher for anything clerical ever.
I have a couple of connections to Paylor through deed and oath. It's just a part of the situation, but how can you're with them? Looking at Rylan.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story. Then again, when is anything not?
Well, listen.
These people.
Listen.
Basically, I think she had Ava had a pendant that she had enchanted. Pulls out her pendant. We need another one of these for him. For them.
Yeah, I had. If this individual is with you, then they are obviously going to need something like that. Therefore, I will ask Hazel and Alice to provide a lunch while I speak to. Sorry, do you have a name?
Rylan. I go by Rylan.
While I speak to Rylan and find something that we can enchant. Come through. I've got a small private study, and Hazel knows where the kitchen is. Feel free to use anything you find, but be careful of the rope dragon.
Going to just offer Alice a fist bump and start heading in the
Bump.
direction.
Yeah. So Lyra ushers Rylan into a comfortable-ish looking study, if slightly small. I mean, there's only one chair that's fit for medium creatures. Put it that way. It's basically been built for small creature in mind. It probably used to be like a pantry or something. Please take a seat, and sits at the desk opposite.
Quietly sits down, still visibly a little nervous, but a little bit excited for once about something.
I don't think they explained.
No, they seem to have a bad habit of not explaining things until they become relevant.
They have a lot going on, in all fairness to them.
Tell.
You may have noticed that it actually removes the bandage, and yeah, her all the area across her eyes is burned out. There is nothing left at that point. And that's why I wear it. That flicker I got from you, but I wanted to still be able to help my team and serve my god. And much like young Remy Questwind did after, I ended up making a pact with Palor's chosen Solar. I was granted a gift of seeing without eyes. It means that my sense of vision is a little different. And what I see in you is... it's darkness without being taint, and I'm wondering... how long were you living so close to the Shadowfell?
My whole life.
A little bit before, too, I think.
Probably for a long time before.
Well, you have an affinity for the shadows that may serve you well as far as this goes.
If this darkness is as dark as everyone around me seems to say it is, I'm sure I'll probably have some form of an edge.
At the very least, for all you're upset now at hearing how things are and have been, you're probably going to be the one less likely to... how best to put this? I think you will probably be more, not so much cautious as respectful of the danger. You may have noticed about them that when confronted with dangerous things, they will have a tendency to leap at them. They've been a little bit better since the Azamar joined them, but you have a bit more of a first-hand understanding, I think, of how to treat with such things respectfully. And honestly, if what I'm sensing is true, you may wind up fairly instrumental in... there's a conversation planned, I think, with one of Tiamat's servants. I know things.
Really?
You do know this. They were talking about the Archon individual.
Yes.
Yes. So it's like, is there? Oh, yeah. Because they were talking about it being either Froseth or Barnabas doing the actual talking.
Mm-hmm.
You may want to put a word in. I think if any of them know to be cautious when power comes with shadows, it would be you. And your type isn't the type that's that corrupting, which, given I've been to the Shadowfell, is saying something.
I will certainly do my best to put words in. It might take me a moment, and by the time I'm ready for it, it might be right before the conversation is to even happen, but...
I'm sure you have other things to do before then. They're a little precipitate, but they're not cruel. What they're doing now, the dumping of things as they become relevant, is their way of trying to get you used to how things happen to them. The world dumps things as they become relevant on them so much. And they got used to it the same way as you're getting used to it now.
Yeah. I suppose I am.
But don't be afraid to show them what you can do. They know the difference, and they already trust you. And they have reason to.
I think so.
I know so. There's more to true sight than just seeing the marks the shadow left. Besides, I know Hazel. You're an elf. Wood elf, yes, but you're an elf. If she's being that kind and considerate of you, then you have their trust. Unquestioningly. She has very good reasons to be wary of elves.
More questions for another day.
No, you already know the answer to that one. You heard about what her mother did. Her birth mother, anyway. This is the Lady Emma Vela individual. So, hopefully I've offered a little bit of reassurance. I didn't want to... Some things need to happen at your own pace. I just thought reassurance might help. Do you have anything that I can...
And Rylan, sort of slowly takes it off his wrist, because he's been fidgeting with it through this conversation. This orange aventurine bracelet on his left wrist. Is this...
You wear it all the time? It's important to you. Obviously, or you wouldn't fidget with it. Then she holds out her hands.
I don't think I've taken this off once since I've gotten it until now.
It's easier to enchant when it's not on you, but I could do it while it's on your wrist if that's more helpful.
No, it's perfectly fine, and he slowly takes it off and hands it to Lyra.
Cups hands over it. Settles in a way that if she had eyes, she'd probably be closing them. And after a moment, there's a faint glow that comes between her fingers. And when it fades, she opens her little hands and hands back the bracelet, which is entirely unchanged as far as you can tell.
Slowly put the bracelet back on, readjust to where it had been.
Oh, you might want to check the rafters when you get back into the main room. They've been a bit quiet lately, but you get to meet the foster fairy dragons.
There's more fairy dragons.
The two that most associate with Hearthhome actually originate here. I run a fairy dragon sanctuary. You probably won't know this, coming from the woods and having your own relationship with fairy dragons, but particularly nobility will sometimes keep them as pets, and they don't always treat them particularly well. When I hear of that happening, I remove them from the situation. Unfortunately, we had some of the of Jainaran the Third's Crown's Guard here, and we drove them out. That's why we have the mercenaries, but they had the town for a while. That's why the Golden Bough is burned, and while some of the older ones were sensible enough to hide when the Crown's Guard came through, the other ones sat in the rafters and basically heckled them when they came through. They tried to outlaw magic. It was pretty desperate around here. This lot dealt with the majority of the problem, which was wonderful for us because they were badly injuring dissenters. So we had to have Crown's Guard in here, making sure we weren't using anything in the way of healing magic. Let's just say we were not best pleased with that, and we were even less pleased when they apparently took offense to being slightly teased by fairy dragons in rafters, and murdered about half of them.
Slight eye twitch for a split second.
Yeah, yes, that's about how we felt about the whole thing. But if it helps you at all, things have been much better since your new friends dealt with the adult green that was posing as our seneschal.
I'm glad there's some place that's actually doing a little bit better.
That's as much because of the Cupcake Coterie and the mercenaries that we arranged. It makes... Honestly, sometimes this makes me consider... I had been thinking, I'm not that old for my species, and I thought maybe I could do better out there, but clearly Paylor wanted me here.
Sometimes the path you think you want to go down might not necessarily be in your best interest. I know that very, very well.
It's not so much my best interest I'm worried about. My pact with my patron and my god has always been to be there for the benefit of others. Just this is, at least mercenaries go into it knowingly, if not necessarily 100% willingly all the time. Nobody in this town asked for this. But as you say, it's improved for the moment. Now all we can try to do is make sure it stays that way.
It's a very uplifting way of thinking about things.
Well,
very admirable.
I try. It's Hazel is honestly about the same. She's just a bit less eloquent about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
She's young. And honestly, the instructors at Mount Paylor did not do her as well as they could have done. You should go say hello to the fairy dragons. You probably could use something a little less portentous.
Yeah. I think I would like that.
If you just go into the main shrine with I'm sure that they've turned they've turned Barnabas into their own personal perch by this point. He doesn't speak Draconic or Sylvan, does he?
I would be surprised if he did.
He's going to have so much fun. Please go rescue him.
I'm going to. Yes, good. Let's.
I'll be checking on Hazel and Alice. I trust them well enough in the kitchen, but it is mostly my kitchen. Whatever else Dunn has to say about it. And out they go. And as soon as they left, you have like a half a dozen fairy dragons perched on Barnabas's horns. Generally, the along the indigo, purple, blue kind of end of the spectrum, and just leaning and just sort of peeping at him, which in a language that Ava Darvin mostly get as you can't talk to us, can you? Why do they almost never bring anybody who can talk to us?
Do I want to know what they're saying?
And then one of the purple,
Nothing bad, don't worry.
then one of the purple ones turns into a small Persian kitten and basically clambers down and basically tries to tuck into the crook of Barnabas's elbow.
They're just a bit sad that you can't understand them.
Oh, that's all right.
And one of them is now a cat, so you've got little Persian fluffy sort of trying to wedge into spots for cuddles. Just scrunch. And just settles purr.
Organism.
One of them looks up at Darfin and just sort of goes, "If that's how we have to get the pettings and the being nice, then that's how we're gonna do it. I guess we should just be non-verbal." And yeah, Rylan comes out in the middle of this. It's like 5 fairy dragons and a cat.
Very purple cat.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Yeah, might as well keep the color. Yeah, so.
There was right. I guess you were going to be swarmed by them.
And
I don't know.
Five fairy dragon heads, Nyoink and in Sylvan. Can you talk to us?
Brain, shut up. Sorry, my brain almost did the really fucking shitty response of, I don't know, can I?
At which point, if you did say that, you would get, obviously you can, you mean to ask if you may.
And just watching this.
Just in Sylvan, don't worry. I can actually understand you.
And with the exception of the bright purple cat, Exodus. 2 on each shoulder and 1 on the top of his head. Lean. Hello! What's your name?
A lot of you. I go by Rylan. Here.
She points. That's Violet! It points at the purple cat in Barnabas's arm. You do know that color of fairy dragon can do polymorph. So clearly this one has self-polymorphed for pettings.
Rather smart.
So how are Flitty and Sunshine? we're sticking with Sylvan.
They're
Good.
really good.
Good, because we worried when Flitty went out on adventures. And out of Alice's Flitty bag at this point, she'd point, hello! Why are you green? I was heroic!
You also made a home in my scarf.
Yeah, it was cold out there and it was warm in your scarf. I make homes in people's scarves.
That is very fair.
I gave up my blue. 'Cause the now really wingy lady was kind of dead. At which point, very rapid fire conversation switched to draconic in a, we're going up to the rafter place and you're going to tell us, Violet! Look from the cat, which is kind of very specific look of, I will catch up later. I'm being petted now with somebody with very good hands. Okay, we'll tell you later. The fairy dragging confab up in the rafters.
A swarm.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, Alice A. from nearby kitchen. There used to be more of them. I don't know if anyone told you.
Liara told me.
Have I encountered the rope dragon yet, and have I had to try and ask to have access to a piece of utensil?
You got very nearly nipped when you were reaching for the bag of potatoes. So it was reach for the potatoes, and what you took as the rope that was tying a bag of turnips together, just yip, and you pulled out of the way just enough time to...
I'm sorry. I need potatoes. May I?
Sulky coil of rope dragon. Looking at you suspiciously.
You remember, do I have any of the interesting jerky, or is this one of the ones that's fond of sweets?
It's usually the fairy dragons that are more about the sweets. Rope dragons are closer to dragon than, but you do probably. I mean, you have your bag, so you probably got some. You probably got plenty of interesting bits and pieces. Of to be fair, the people would have showered you with things along the lines of reindeer and dire penguin jerky.
Oh, yeah, then because that's from very far away and very interesting. Both of those are coming out.
Yep. It's sort of like one of those rope tricks. If somebody playing a flute and whoop, I think phone got dropped. Yep.
I offer dire penguin, and deer, and reindeer.
Snoof, snoof. Snoof, snoof. Snoof, snoof. And in moderately quick succession, so that both end up in the mouth at once. Back in the coil. Yump, 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 yump. Seems happy.
Yeah, and I wait a moment for the response. Seems satisfied, so I'm going to go for the potatoes again.
When you have the potatoes, you do, however, wind up with a kind of a weird sensation that turns out to be the rope dragon coiling itself up your body, apparently looking for more, attempting to poke head into the bag of holding, which would be bad.
Wait! I have to get it for you. Sorry, this bag of holding magic. You don't want to be in here. I'm gonna start just producing the various jerkies just in sequence and setting them to the side for dragon samplings.
Yes, given that there's not a lot of space in that pantry, and not even that much space in the kitchen, you guys notice Hazel leaving a trail of jerky bits and what looks very much like a rope, except it apparently has little legs somewhere and little wings and a dragon face on one end, going yomp, yomp after each bit of jerky is dropped. And he looks at the people. Yomp, 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 the last bits of jerky and back into the pantry.
Glad to see you
I
doing well.
think.
There is. Sheepshank still does not like strangers very much. He had to have a name.
Still also very nippy.
Territorial.
I successfully traded jerky for potatoes.
He knows better than to try that with me. So what are you making, anyway? I mean, keep in mind, you probably still have the various spices and the very flat breads.
And it involves producing the flatbreads. And very flat bread.
Very unleavened bread. I suppose very good for wrapping things in. Oh, right. Yes. Twilly used to talk about that kind of thing.
Entirely sure what we're filling it with yet. That's
Apparently at least partially potatoes, and we've got some pheasant.
ooh, that's perfect.
Alice's already got it and pulling out various spices.
Sort of the equivalent of essentially chicken salad or potato salad, in a flatbread.
It's kind of a I imagine that given Alice A, it's looking closer to a chicken, well, pheasant, potato, and random veg curry, except then wrapped up in a tortilla.
Perfect.
Can Ava stay out of the way, but be sort of watching them do it?
Yeah, Alice A will make occasional comments when she notices Ava paying attention. Given Ava's proximity to the kitchen door, though, she will have seen the rope dragon slither past and got a very specific before boom back into the pantry.
Wrong.
Is just scaredy, I think.
Hard to blame him, I guess.
Well, not everybody can be as adorable when nervous as our friend Rylan here. How are you on spicy food, by the way?
Fine. I'm fine.
Just so that you know, their level of height of tolerance is way higher than any average.
Oh.
So
Yeah, that's with a capital S.
Be
God.
prepared for the sensation of having the entirety of your mouth turn into a bonfire.
You might actually react better to it than you think. Don't let these
The first
wusses
time I had
scare
my mouth
you.
on fire.
I'm just telling him.
I'm just
Keep it
teasing you.
It is quite good, but it is to have a capital S.
Yes, I tease my Rika, it's what I do, and boop on the nose, goes back to the cooking. So, yes, eventually you have fairly spicy smelling, largely pheasant, cauliflower, and potato curry type thing wrapped in a tortilla. And yes, I would like Rylan to make a Constitution saving throw.
God.
Ava too, probably. She still hasn't quite got used to this shit yet. Barnabas, Remy, Darvin's getting a bit better at it. Clarity's had food, not quite this spicy, but close at home. Oh, Lord.
Was a 2
Oh, boy.
on the die.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Oh no!
It also has inherent fire resistance.
Oh, oh no.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Ava's been avoiding the spicy stuff, so she hasn't been building up a tolerance. And
This is my first.
yeah, and
Very red in the face.
you thought you knew spicy food,
Oh.
but apparently apparently the pack of the people that you traveled with were very, very careful of you, and they never fed you anything spicy. So Alice A was going by what the people did. So while just about everybody else, apart from like Hazel, who's nyomp 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 because I can't feel my face, this is great, and everybody else is a little bit tingly, but these two, Lyra just brings out the milk without even a word, a picture of it in front of each of them. Punk. Yeah, when you see Ava doing that, and it seems to help.
That was a bit stronger than I was prepared for.
The most color.
I restocked my spices! I can cook properly now! Oh, yeah, Hazel reaches into her own bag of holding and pulls out roundish box, probably carved bone, with a little booklet on top. Hands it to Hazel. Good size one, too. It's like one of those big cookie tin kind of sizes. If she opens the container, little bits of... It's sort of divided out into little sections, and in each is a different kind of spice. The booklet apparently is what they're called, what they're used in.
Carefully closing into the bag of holding carefully. And waiting for food to be set aside and just turning to Alice, I want to hug you right now, may I?
Yes, you may.
Full on start vibrating in place and yeet!
Yeah, she strength of 4, yeah, I gotcha. Well,
Hypersonic.
yeah, now you're hearing the noise that makes the teeth vibrate. That's right in my ear! Ah!
That was thankfully cut off pretty abruptly,
Yeah.
though it was briefly.
Oh, that's what that noise is.
Which one of the kids told you about that noise? Skylar, out of character.
Skylar. Oh my god.
Yeah, that she does that when she gets particularly excited. It's just that we weren't in Demille very long, and I would have just taken her out to one of the shops that specializes, but we didn't really have time, so I just picked her up a sampler pack.
Understandable.
And she likes spicy food, and I blame myself for the interest in cooking, really.
Very good cooking.
Yeah, she's picking it up surprisingly well.
And now she has a selection of what is essentially DEFCONs 1 through, I don't know, 12.
There are some milder ones, but the thing is that some of those milder ones actually ramp up the spiciness of some of the other ones. And there's also little notes about how much, for example, citrus pulls out some of the spicy of some of the more pepper-like bits.
Hazel has plans.
And at the back, there's the recipe for that betrayal coffee, which is apparently a bit of their cinnamon, a tiny touch of burn lichen, and some kind of... You can't really pronounce the word they call it, but it appears to be some kind of frost nutmeg.
Basically, coffee atomica.
Kinda, yeah. But it's just the extra little spices for kick. And how to brew it.
Is very, very pleased, half elf. Very pleased, half elf. Still occasionally vibrating.
Somebody's become quite the world traveler.
There is so much stuff I need to try to either make or see if I can't grow here.
You'd need the reverse of a greenhouse for some of it from the sounds of things. I'm sure Twilly would appreciate the challenge. She did manage that ice box thing. I mean, having them in Egref is one thing, but making them out of Goldendale raw material, they have a cold box. It's keeps everything inside cold with an ice rune or something. She explained it to me once, but it sounded like, well, Hazel comes by it honestly. Let's put it that way.
I may or may not have had a few encounters with it that weren't exactly the healthiest.
Never tell her not to poke something, because she will immediately poke it just to see what the fuss is about. She's got better since 8 years old, and YOLO.
Frostbite is an understatement.
Yeah, she apparently she was a hazel ice statue for a while. There was also the pie eating contest incident. Well, pre-pie eating contest. Yeah, you did. I'll say you did. Rylan hasn't.
Oh, that's true.
Yep. And there was also, thankfully I'm not the only one who's managed pie eating chicanery.
Yeah, Lyra's just on the other hand.
I'm not gonna say it again. What is it with a group called the Cupcakes having only like one association with actual cupcakes?
We don't have cupcake eating contests.
It's true. They don't really have cupcake eating contests. You see, every year, don't know what we're going to do about it this year, but every year during the harvest festivals, we have a pie eating contest in town. Jenna's won every year for the past 10 years. But the pies are cooked by Twilly and Miranda. And, well, Hazel came in and saw blueberry pies as far as the eye could see, and ate 3 of them before her stomach got the best of her. She was only about 7 or 8 years old at the time, so that was a lot of pie.
That sounds like a lot of pie.
Yes, unfortunately,
for a small child.
Well, when it all came back up again, it was also a lot of mess on the floor and the counters. Also, and I'll say, because also, ironically, apparently, that's exactly the number of pies Clarity managed when she signed up for last year's pie eating contest and had a similar reaction.
It's good going down, not so much coming up.
And Clarity's not the bottomless pit that Hazel was, even at that young age.
It sounded like fun, and it was just,
Just
This is
debacle.
this is why the Lady of Mischief and Whimsy has chosen Clarity for her personal patron.
Because Clarity just is fun personified.
Well, somebody who learned their sneakiness by breaking into people's houses to read things in their libraries and pet their cats.
It's going to be a whirlwind tour of libraries, cats, just for this.
dogs and cats.
Unless it's guard dogs. Didn't you tell us about one where you had a major issue with not being able to tell the difference at first between a pet dog and a guard dog?
Well,
You learn by doing so.
yeah, you can kind of bribe the guard dogs into being pet dogs if you bring bacon, but I didn't have some at that point.
Always should do jerky. Pocket bacon is one thing, but there's a bit more of a smell to it that might give you away to human guards. Jerky doesn't smell so much.
Yeah.
Hazel was given a selection of jerky. Vord basically plied her with jerky. I have some too, but what's hers is yours, and vice versa. Kind of like me with Ree, but without the cleric-y bits and pieces. Oh, hey, Lyra. Be proud of your young acolyte here, because she did her first big ceremony on behalf of Ree and myself. She officiated the wedding. Well, first of all, congratulations to the two of you. I may have to bring out something celebratory in a minute. And then hops out of her chair, pads over to Hazel, and teeny tiny hug. I am so proud of you.
Ability to words is still awful. I think I'm going to keep those shorter in the future.
The Palor wedding speeches is not done traditionally. It's not a short ceremony. It's more learning how to improvise it to make it something that you feel rather than something that you read off a card. But given that it was your first time, it sounds like you did wonderfully. Certainly no complaints. Then again, newlyweds, I suppose there wouldn't be.
Yeah. Any complaints that could have happened kind of got overshadowed by feathers.
Yeah. And Tilt said Ziriel had something to do with that, I take it.
Yes. Little bigger of a gift than I had planned on.
Well, your patron, you can say it, my dad, basically. The only one I'm willing to acknowledge, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get something celebratory, and you can explain to Rylan, who really needs to hear more of this sort of thing in calmer circumstances. I think the poor soul's a little overwhelmed right now, but I have something special. Just hold. Azamar. We can be born from other Azamar, but sometimes we come up in families just because some celestial being chucked a bit of that spark at child to be, and that's where I came in. I was raised away from other Azamar. I didn't even know what I was until a few months ago. And Yeah, you know the kind of mental gymnastics you have to do to still consider yourself human when you wind up 13 years old and you can all of a sudden heal people with a touch and sprout, at that point, ephemeral wings? Because that was a lot of mental twisty-turny that I did.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I guess you
Oddly.
probably do. But I think you're still technically wood elf.
Probably.
Well, it's better than I had. I thought very, very variant human. And no, it turns out that there's actually a species. And most of them are locked up in Ambir right now.
Yep.
We'll deal with it. Eventually. This is more important!
Yep.
Like Froseth, most of my people got kind of had done to them what the Silver Dragonborn had done to them and what your people are having done to them now. The few survivors were taken into protective custody. It's a thing. You'll hear more about it later, but it's not a priority unless something manages to get through whatever protection the governors have on Equitas, and they decide to take full advantage of having all the Protector Azamar all in one place.
Yeah, that's half the reason. That's 1/3 of the reason we need to kick the door down.
We don't need to
When we
kick the
get
door.
to it.
We don't need to kick the door down. We need to come up with a more diplomatic solution, which we're not going to do right now because, for the moment, they're vaguely probably safe, or at least not in the same kind of peril as everybody else is right now.
Yep.
So, trust me, it upsets me as much as it does you. I'm just weirdly more able to be pragmatic about it.
Honestly, I think I have a handle on. We've got other things to do. Hearing it, I need to grouse a little just to get it out of my system.
And Lyra pads back in, and you, pointing at Remy, are something of a chocolate fan, yes?
Yes.
They look like tiny pies, basically tarts, filled with a sort of a chocolate hazelnut smelling. Those are for you. You are somewhat in the more exotic fruit. Best I can do is raspberry. Sets them down for.
Thank you.
Eagerly watching for Alice's reaction here.
Stop watching me. They smell wonderful. At which point Lyra decides to distract Hazel by putting down maple versions of same. You've had those at every major success exam and celebratory thing. These are your I did good food.
The amount of restraint of trying to not go hypersonic and vibrate through the floor is probably causing steam to start leaking out of my ears.
Barnabas and Clarity get one chocolate, one maple each. Rylan gets two that are kind of a maple pecanish kind of a thing. And Ava and Darvin get more sort of covered ones, but they smell like apple. The same kind of apple pie that you'd have had visiting with Ava. The cook at her house used to do.
Just looks over and just grins. Just. Ee.
That brings back memories, doesn't it?
Chandelier.
Self am error.
Well, as much as I've enjoyed your company, I have a feeling that you have other things to do in town today. I think the sweet shop might have restocked their fudge by now.
Oh,
Oh no.
Considering you bought all of it last time.
I'm sorry, you did what now?
The entire barrel.
He really likes fudge.
He really likes that specific fudge.
Though to his credit, he left the barrel.
oh, okay.
The enthusiasm was very obvious.
Look,
And
I
you
like.
showed. Well, the equivalent. Once again, you're starting to smoke.
Look,
Well,
I
that's
really
what
like
you do.
my sweets, and I can say with distinction that is some of the best I've had over multiple dimensions. So, yes, I'm going to buy it out when I have the opportunity.
Eminently fair. And you're amazing.
And Alisay does turn around. One thing you could do, because while that particular shop makes better fudge, the places that you've been and probably still have the occasional bit and piece of is a wider range of flavors. Maybe if you give our dwarven friend some taste nibbles of things, she could expand her variety and might actually forgive you for taking out all of her stock again.
Would she actually upset I did that?
Not necessarily, but she might still. I mean, she would have had to spend at least another day restocking. But also, even if she's not upset about it, she made something that you appreciate that much. Doesn't she deserve something nice?
Absolutely. I love that idea.
There you go.
I'm starting to recognize that look. That's happening.
Yeah.
Even if a dragon lands in your way.
Yeah, just let's not do the same thing with your sugar beans, Hazel. I think she might get entirely the wrong idea.
Yeah. Considering some of my preferences
No, I mean that bag Barnabas gave you.
and that thing, yes.
Lyra
Lyra just softly punch him in the shoulder.
Lyra turns around. Do they happen to have those, or given what I'm getting from this conversation, you might encounter pumpkin pie.
Pulled out the bag. I'm just looking.
You can't tell. It might be one of the orange ones, but there's so many things that could be orange.
Well, you
May I?
Lyra, you put the idea in my head. One.
Lyra was reaching out because...
Oh dear.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, you got ghost pepper.
Happily handing it to Lyra, just kind of sitting here, kind of enjoying it. Not entirely sure what to make of it, just... I like it. It's way too damn spicy for what it is, but I like spicy.
Yeah, it's the spicy and the sugar that are kind of getting to you at that point. At which point she pulls out, she's very carefully picking through and comes out with 3 for herself and 1 for Hazel of a very specific shade of orange speckled with sort of reddish brown.
Take it, waiting for this to wear off.
Drink some milk, it'll help.
Right.
Swig's milk has been.
Yes.
Pumpkin pie. Tastes exactly like pumpkin pie. I mean, the consistency is a little bizarre, but...
Barnabas, I swear you found the weirdest thing.
Excuse me, those are some of my favorites.
No, I don't mean bad weird. I just mean the whole bad.
I make no apology.
I'll say it's like I said, he got me 2 or almost gifts.
I'm just offering the bag to Lyra for anything else she wants.
I'm fine, but there's a couple I think you should try. Sort of darkish off green one. Sort of white one with brownish spots. And an entirely different shade of orange. Eat this particular orange one first.
Question. Which one is the like really strong pepper? Ghost pepper, I think, was the descriptor for this level of oof.
That's one term. I think they've got hotter ones in Demille, but they don't share them often. Yeah, and still holding out the bright orange bean.
Yep, trying that.
I don't know if you know this one, but basically it's basically curried cauliflower. So kind of like aloo gobi.
I have never had that.
It's good.
It is.
Good. It took me a minute to remember.
Curried cauliflower is boss.
Very good.
That sounds amazing.
I want to say, oh Lord, for the life of me, I can't remember which. I think we used to get that at this. There was a Brazilian steakhouse. Is that where we used to get it? I can't remember. There was a restaurant in Georgia.
It's
one of the places me and my boss used
it's
to go
Indian, but.
Then it was probably Madras then that had it. That's why. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a feeling it would be Indian
stuff.
curry.
Yeah, that's the thing. Aloo is potato and gobi is cauliflower. So it's curried
No, there's
potato
a lot
and
of
cauliflower.
that. There's a lot of stuff that would places that would serve that around here. So
Try aloo gobi. It's fantastic stuff. But yeah,
Really
so
good stuff.
but that's the Hazel is getting this curried cauliflower. Probably can't taste the potato as much.
Infused blinking.
Curried cauliflower and potato.
Oh.
And
Oh.
Alice says, "Oh, you can get that in.
Nice.
I mean, good, but I'm not sure I'd have it in a jelly bean."
Yeah.
And then hands her the sort of muddy green one.
That's next on the list.
Bite it in half, actually.
Narm.
Inside, it's actually green on the outside, and the inside it's red, and it tastes like watermelon. But it's got the color scheme of watermelon.
Have fun.
Going to feed Clara the other half, and then latch onto Barnabas in a near tackle hug.
I have one more.
After having attempted to tackle hug Barnabas, it's back over.
Marshmallow. Toasted marshmallow.
From vertical, 2 on floor, rolling around in delight.
I haven't seen her do that. I haven't seen her do that in a year.
Okay then.
Eston, you probably don't have to sweep this afternoon. Peers out of his office. Oh, more swearing in Celestial. She's doing you a service. She's being a pain in my ass.
In a serviceable way?
Full pain and
Hazel, please. You're going to bump into things. Besides, you were heading in a... Dust yourself off before you commit to acts of tackle hug on your Minotaur friend.
Going to just briefly step out and briefly go to the door, step outside.
At least it gets the vibrating out of her system. And probably from doorway, yeet! At Barnabas, whose strength is such that I'm not even asking. Besides, he knew it was coming. As soon as he heard the footsteps, it really was just reach out arm.
Reach out arm, brace hooves, bend the knee a little.
I see that you all had a very interesting time in Equitas. Again, still.
Accurate.
Alice is just, yeah, they pick up the most divine souvenirs. There are so many levels of pun to that. Yeah, I know.
So many that it's actively hard to calculate.
Look, sometimes you just have to drive the whole thing in as fast as possible. Works for combat, too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, because I know you have they're going to be interesting conversations with Jenna, I can already tell. Some of you are going to have to talk about your weapons, aren't you?
I still
special
need.
shit about your weapons that you neglected to tell me.
Yep.
I'd let Jenna explain that.
She's a lot better at explaining the intricacies of the things she made than anyone else.
But to summarize a bit, you know the mythologies. How Pelor made our prime material plane on a specific forge.
Yeah.
Well, some people venerate that forge. Not a god or a goddess, but the forge itself. It's an interesting form of worship, but some bond with it more strongly than others. Some are simply clerics. And then every so often you have what is called a steel singer, who can take that to a much more interesting place as far as creating magical weapons and armor go. We don't speak of it much because she left for her own reasons, but the first steel singer we've had for a couple of centuries was the only human-sized person in the quick flight diminutive. She was our quartermaster. When we retired, she went into business in Belarus, but left not long after to retire here. She still makes her wonders. It's been a little tricky because the other thing that was outlawed was most weapons, apart from hunting bows and that sort of thing. But swords, shield, anything dedicated as a weapon for hurting people instead of hunting dinner. Anyway, fact is that she does what she's called to do. She makes treasures. And almost all of them carry a Steel Singer treasure. Ava's is an older one, made by a long ago Steel Singer. But Barnabas has one sword. Darvin has another. Clarity has a dagger. Alice's scimitars, Hazel's axe, which used to be Alice's axe, as I understand it.
Yep.
Froseth's sword, and Alice's, I'm gonna have to call him back. If he might want to ask some questions about his sword too. It's okay. We'll hang here. I'll sending him. And Lyra continues, and Remy's armor, and while you can't see it right now, her sword. And her shield was an older Steel Singer, if I remember right. Do you want to show Rylan your sword?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, packed to the blade, and it's a remarkably serviceable looking sword, but it's elegant for all that. On one level, there's not a whole lot of filigree and fancy. The most fancy part of any of it is a red stone, either a ruby or a garnet. It's hard to tell at that distance in the pommel, but while the hilt is plain and the guard is pretty solid, there's a faint glimmer to it, and it's just elegant and perfectly balanced looking.
Wow.
Alice is, that's Scale Splitter. While we're waiting for Froseth, I can tell you, dance for you if you don't, there's some space in the... I don't think even Estan would give you an issue with that. I can tell and dance you the story of what we had to do to collect the reagents for that thing.
We had to do a lot.
We did. Ava's got some arrowheads made of the same stuff. We're saving it, I think, for Black Dragon asshole.
Yeah, because these things put together were specifically dragon slayers.
But we'll let Jenna explain exactly what they do. Maybe she'll have some idea of how much further they can wake up. But
I still need to practice with this. You need to show me how to guard with it so that I don't get whammied.
That's... you're never going to entirely avoid getting whammied. But I can teach you a couple of things. But that'll be for this evening. We will have time on the road. In the meantime, and while they're waiting for Froseth, Alice will. I mean, you got that far, I think, in the watching them collecting the venom from the Amphisbaena, the bottled lightning, various other bits and pieces. And then they actually went after Corvell with it pretty much the day they got it.
Oh.
It was so new that Remy hadn't even turned it into her pact blade yet. But we're at about that time, so we've stalled sufficiently, which is good. So hopefully we'll have everybody in 2 weeks' time. And we'll have a brief stopover with Jenna and then start heading east for Gray's Inn.
Awesome.